Welcome to Tarot for Writing. I'm Sam, and today we're going to take a look at the Three of Wands. Fun fact, this is the very first tarot card that I ever pulled for myself, so it holds a special place in my heart. My first tarot deck was a Rider-Waite-Smith card, so the depiction looked very much like this card. This, by the way, the cards I'm using in this series is the Smith-Waite Tarot Centennial Edition, and I'm using the small Pocket Tarot in a Tin cards. So let's take a look at this card. Let's talk a little bit about a definition, zero in on a detail, and then talk a little bit about how I use this particular card to inspire my fiction writing. And in case you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been watching a few of these videos, welcome back. This is part of an entire series where I take a look at every single card in the tarot deck. So check out that playlist or browse through the videos to take a look at the other cards we've discussed so far. So this, the Three of Wands, is to me a card that speaks of ambition and productivity. So kind of think of him as an entrepreneur who does whatever it is that he does to fill up those ships and send them down the river. So it's about entrepreneurial success. So unlike the Two of Wands, this person has actually taken the first steps and he has finished the first stage of this project. So it is not complete final success, but he has reached an important step, an important stage in the process. And the ships are now laden with goods and are heading down the river, and from there out to sea and to their final destinations. And this card also always makes me think about what's next. You know, this first stage is complete. What is the next step? What is the next part of the process? So it's a great card to dig into. And the detail that caught my attention today was the river, and particularly the unusual color of the river. It looks almost yellow golden. And I sat here this morning as I was drinking my coffee thinking about this. You know, what could it mean? What could cause it? And I figured it had to be either a sunrise or a sunset that gave the river this particular color. And I think it is probably a sunset. The sunrise, in my mind at least, and it has been a while since I've lived close enough to a river that I would have seen the sunrise on it, but it seems like the water is still dark. It kind of takes a while for the sun to get high enough on the horizon. But at sunset, you really get that feel for this golden, orange, almost flaming river. So that's what I went with. And what this speaks of to me is the importance of looking at your accomplishments. You know, he's standing here watching these ships leave, looking at everything he has done. And it also points out to me the importance to acknowledge those accomplishments, to lean on them like he's leaning on one of the wands here, and to use them to fuel your next step. So that's the message I took away from this. Next, let's talk a little bit about how I would use this particular card to inspire my writing. So let's look at the different elements here. The gentleman standing there, the three wands with new growth, the river, the ships, and him standing on a cliff overlooking the scene below him. So the first thing this makes me think of is a character that's maybe a little bit older, somebody more middle-aged, somebody who is established in their life and in their business. So maybe they have built this business and just sold it off. Or maybe the ships represent children who are heading off on their own. So that's kind of the kind of person I envision when I'm drawing the Three of Wands for a particular story, kind of developing the character of somebody who will be an important part of their story. And the Three Wands to me kind of represent some friends, some people that he can lean on for support. And I'm saying he simply because this guy looks like a man to me, but I could use the card just as much to describe a female character. And actually all of this that I've shared with you so far kind of gives me women's fiction vibes. You know, a woman in her 40s or 50s who just went through a major transition, maybe a divorce, maybe she's widowed, or, you know, for whatever reason, she starts a completely new chapter in her life, maybe with a group of friends, kind of reinventing herself. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this card and the kind of ideas that it sparks for me today. Because these cards can, of course, spark different ideas on different days, at different stages, at different times in our lives, for our art, for our fiction. So what else can I pull from this? Let's dive in a little bit more into the details. So again, looking at the colors and the idea that this depicts a sunset over the river, you know, I could have my characters watching a sunset together at a beautiful spot in the landscape that makes sense for the world that I have built for them. Or looking at the cloth or robes that this person is wearing, they kind of made me think of a blanket. So maybe these two characters are huddled together under a blanket for warmth. And then the wands and this new growth that springs up from out of the wands makes me think of spring and new growth. So that could inspire all kinds of fun ideas. You know, the stories could be set in springtime, or I could hone in on that new growth. You know, what is the new idea that my character has? What is this new venture that they're trying to work on? And then wands, especially when they're standing there and somebody's holding on to them, always makes me think of hiking. That kind of lends itself to the whole image of a cliff too. So I could have my characters hike out to a pretty overlook, or maybe they're taking a drive to an overlook like that. And then from there, I'm kind of thinking about the conversations that they could have there. And when we tie that in with the river flowing below them, maybe they're having an important conversation about what no longer serves them. What do they need to let go? What maybe something that isn't easy to let go, but an important conversation that they need to have before they can figure out if they have a shot at building a life together. Or kind of tying into this whole idea of this being the suit of wands, the fire suits. When I'm thinking fiery conversations, I'm thinking maybe a heated discussion or even a fight. So maybe we're at a point here where we're a little bit past this fight and they're trying to resolve their issues and see if they can come to some sort of agreement, if they can make up or have some sort of emotional discussion about what just happened and what they argued about. Or since we only have one person depicted in this card, maybe we see just one party, one of our couple, one half of our couple standing there after this heated discussion, after this fight, thinking that all is lost after the argument they've had. Maybe they're even watching the other person walk away, drive off, sail off into the sunset, and they think this is it. But we're seeing this new growth in the wands. And as readers, we know that maybe not all hope is lost. Maybe this is the moment where this character realizes that even though their love interest just rode off into the sunset, they can't let them get away. It is too important. And this is the moment where this person realizes that they are willing to do whatever it takes to get them back, to have them in their life. It's a beautiful moment in a romance story and one of my favorites to write, because from here it's all sunshine and roses. You know, you can just imagine this character jumping into the car, racing after the other person, making this big declaration of love, and maybe even coming up with some grand gesture that they're willing to give up whatever caused this argument, or do something to prove that the other person is more important than anything else. And then we have this beautiful moment of reconciliation, and the two of them imagine they're happily ever after together. So that's how I would use the Three of Wands to inspire my fiction writing. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion, and I hope you'll be back tomorrow where we take a look at the Four of Wands. I'll see you there.